So there's a couple of ways of attacking this. One would be to come in there and paint the basic box forms of the model. Get this is what I would call the structural way of painting. Okay. I'm going to show two more techniques after this, but I'm going to do a structural attack to this right now. But I got a little bit ahead of myself. The first thing I like to do when I paint something, or draw something for that matter, is find the movement. How can I describe her in one line? Okay. Now look at that. Look at her spine. That's her movement. It doesn't really have that much to do with her legs. It has to do with her whole spine. So if that is the movement. That's her in one line. Okay. So from there now I can start to take a few measurements. I know that it needs to follow this. This is where I have my little stick here. I can find like the center point of her body, which is usually the crotch. I can come here and, well, first of all, I need to establish my ground line and my top line. I go like this, and then measure in like that. Oh, right there, perfect. So that's the center line. So just even having a few anchor points like this, like the center point, like the angle of her shoulders, okay, like the angle of her hips, okay, I can already start to nail down the form. What's the angle of her head? I just take my my stick here and I put it between her chin and the middle of her eyes. That's the angle. So the angle of her head has to be this. And so now I have her head, I have her hair, the neck. She's got. Okay, now I can look at the angle of her arms. I can just do stick figures for now, and then I look at just compare the angle of this arm, this. Okay, and this is coming up. And then I can look at the angle of her thigh. So I know that. Look at the. Okay, so from where I'm standing, her center line, let's say, is like from the center of her eye to the crotch. So that's my middle point, and so I have my leg. It's her left leg, and then she's got this nice hip kicked out this way, and a nice little contrapposto pose there. I got my knees. I look at the direction of the breasts. Okay, so right along that angle, so it has to be somewhere along that angle. And once I establish where the head is, I can look at, for example, let's look at the side of her forehead to her shoulder. I'll look at that angle. Side of the forehead, so side of the forehead right here, right? So her shoulder has got to be somewhere along this line. Okay? And look at the other side here, okay? Here to here. So the other shoulder has got to be here. So very, very quickly I can nail down where I want everything to be. I got my hand here, and okay. So I've pretty much got, how long has it been? 2 minutes? 3 minutes? I've already got things pretty much nailed down. So what I can do now is I can maybe come with a smaller brush. When you're doing all the pre-cut, your flat brushes are usually pretty good because you can get nice edges like this by turning your brush. So now I got away. So for now, I'm just for the remainder of this pose, I'm going to just have to use darker darker colors there. Thinking about as soon as I nail down my form, I also want to start thinking about my shadow maps here, my shadow areas, my dark and light tonal areas, so I can already start to get in. I can start to look for these really interesting shadow shapes here, like here on her coming off her deltoid, and then I can, at this point, I can be thinking about outlines, but I later want to get rid of my outlines and just have a dark background. But we've got the hand, and we have to look for the important anchor points like the belly button and the nipples. Because I want this to follow through, right? So that the crotch is going to be right there because it's following through. And also, when you're laying something out like this, try as much as possible to think in terms of straight lines, because straight lines are easier to measure, and then later you can straighten out, you can make your proper curves. But it's really, really important to be thinking in terms of your break points. Okay, so this is going in that direction, this is going in that direction, this is coming out, the foot has got some perspective to it. So as much as possible, think in terms of your straight lines. Look at her hip. Okay, well, this line is about right here. That's about right. And you just keep coming back and keep measuring and measuring. And I want to be able to feel that break point right there. I'm going to do this on the wrong side of the paper. Because then I would come in here now and start to lighten up these areas in here. One side of the paper.
Can you use turpentine like an eraser?
What's that?
Are you using turpentine like an eraser?
Yeah, that's how you do a wipe out. Okay, that's good for that pose.